Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the latest inside news with everything going on with Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, the Wednesday Night Wars between AEW and NXT, and of course, in the process, Impact Wrestling. Along with the one and only Jade, I am Aceman X. And before we begin, of course, as usual, I want to point out that everything that is said on this show is strictly our opinion and does not necessarily reflect the views of the platform that we are on or the wrestling companies that we talk about. And now, don't have a cow, man. In this episode, we are going to talk about, like I mentioned, all those shows, but we're going to narrow it down to the nitty gritty. I feel, Jay, we should talk starting with what happened this past Wednesday night between both NXT and AEW. And of course, what's been going on with the ratings, because I don't know if you heard, but AEW went down on the ratings a bit, and NXT actually capitalized this week. Also, the saddest news is that this past Monday on Raw, one of the lowest rated Raw episodes ever in the history of the show. How it landed an outburst with Vince McMahon, how the USA Network is not happy about it, and supposedly there's going to be some changes made. Hopefully, maybe on this upcoming Raw right after TLC, and we will be talking about the card and our final thoughts for TLC coming up this Sunday on the network. And we will mention right now, we will not be doing a live reaction of TLC. We are still going to watch it, though. And, of course, next Saturday night, we will give you our humble opinion about the entire show, plus the matches that have taken place or that will take place after TLC. So let's get started with, of course, with what took place this past Wednesday night as the Wednesday Night Wars continue between AEW and NXT. I'm kind of surprised, Jade, that as far as the numbers, as I'm trying to dig the numbers up for this week, AEW has actually went down and NXT has actually gone up. But we're going to get into the segments, of course, that have taken place with both shows. First, I would like to say, to start off, congratulations to Cody Rhodes and his wife, because now they're the couple that is going to be expecting a baby for 2021. Here, I thought this was something, when seeing a great video package to lead 2021, and now it turns out that they are going to be expecting a child. So Brandy is pregnant at this point. Once again, Cody, Brandy, congratulations. We wish you all the best, and hopefully 2021 will be the year, to start the Rhodes family and everything else that goes along with it. You know how I predicted Becky Lynch's pregnancy in the month of March, and I said it was a baby girl, and it turned out it was going to be a baby girl. Well, unfortunately, I really can't say much because this news was just the hell with it, baby boy. I'm gonna predict that it's gonna be their first baby boy. I might be wrong, but I guess we'll see within the next 8-9 months or so. But yeah, that is a surprise. But I think now with this news coming out, I believe that what was built the last couple of weeks with the storyline between Brandy and Jade Cargill. If I mispronounced the name, I'm sorry. I apologize. Now that whole angle is pretty much dead in the water. So pretty much what we've seen with Brandy having to deal with a broken arm. We don't know if it's broken or not, but still, she's winning it with the cast and everything. Having to see Shaq's appearance last week in that segment with Tony Schiavone and Brandy. Now with Brandy being pregnant, it looks like all of that's gone to waste. That whole concept is another concept dead in the water. Just like how we seen previously when Brandy tried to do another open umbrella within the Nightmare family called the Nightmare Collective, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, that concept already dead in the water. So that's already 2 concepts dead in the water. I don't know how many more are going to be dead in the water in the near future, and we still don't even know the reason why. There hasn't been any reports on why the Nightmare Collective ended so sudden. Unfortunately, now with this storyline with Jade Cargill, that's already pretty much done for. But now the question is going to be, what's going to be next for this woman? Because we know that, obviously she's got some value, and that's why AEW gave her a contract to begin with. So now we got to see how AEW is going to turn the corner, so to speak, for this woman to actually get some more TV time. More, what I'm really hoping for is for a match to take place with her in it. That way we can see what she's all about. That way we can see, what her value is in AEW as we head into 2021, because so many women performing for this company, whether you be part of the indies and want to get an opportunity with AEW, I mean the chances are very slim for you to get in. But if you're that gifted as far as being an athlete is concerned, and how good you've been, and of course your years in the business, all of that pretty much can sum up to even get a spot in AEW. And chances like that don't happen every day, and AEW is the only game in town where you get exposure like that.
Yes, and I just want to point out that since the inception of AEW, pretty much one of the focal points of AEW has been the women's division, and pretty much they had a great they had a whole set of women's talent that pretty much they could rely on, and pretty much became the foundation for the women's division in AEW. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, some of who I consider the most vital assets to the women's division sadly are not in the picture for the moment, which is why right now it is up to Brandy Rhodes to say she needs fill-ins to pretty much make the talent roster until things begin to settle. And one thing I like seeing who Brandy Rhodes has potential and becoming a star in the making is Red Velvet. Red Velvet pretty much has been cutting ties, cut teeth pretty much ever since her matches on Dark. Pretty much Brandy took Red Velvet as pretty much her understudy, saying that you could pretty much ropes, and especially after all the previous incidents involving Red Velvet, along with Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. But pretty much other than Red Velvet, if there is other women wrestlers who AEW can rely on to say, for now, they pretty much still have their and it's a good thing we saw the return of Shayna. I mean, Shayna is impressive, no doubt about it. But regardless of that, it's like you still have women's wrestlers they still can rely on to say, this is who we got to get the fans on, because unfortunately, due to the unexpected circumstances, and yes, we just want to point out we are only days away from ending 2020, because what these wrestling companies want to do is end 2020 on a high note, and it's vital for AEW to end 2020 on a high note, knowing that they have women's wrestlers to depend on just to get us away from our troubles. I mean, it's not an easy job, but hopefully that is the case. And knowing that they have women's wrestlers to depend on to provide good television for Dynamite and for Dark on YouTube every Tuesday, hopefully things will start to fall into place.
Well, the thing with the women's division, it's never been a top priority, although they try to put it in as a top priority. It should be a part of the ingredient to make it a part of the everyday blend for the show to be as best as it can be, because there's got to be a flavor of everything. There can't be more heavyweight segments and angles more than tag team angles, or more than women division angles. There has to be a blend of everything, and that's what would make it told for a good show. So having that in mind, if you have that in the back of your mind, and knowing that you can put a good show together, having those elements in mind, then you're pretty much having a great recipe for success. Otherwise, if you want to head and go for a recipe and head for disaster, well then you're going to give some segment and some division major priority over everything else, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. But we see that more in WWE, where the heavyweights get more attention than the tag team division and the women's division, when in reality there's still wrestlers out there that it should be a blend of everything that should equal. This is the heavyweights. There should be more TV time with the tag division. There should be more TV time with the women's division. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of talent that can back that up for there to be equal TV time for almost everybody, within WWE. And I'm talking about for Raw and for SmackDown. But with the way the shows have been going, SmackDown has been getting a lot of good numbers as of late. Raw's has only been dilapidating, and I believe only on 2 occasions this year, Raw had only just, from what I can recall, just 2 good episodes, while every other episode has been good to not good. And unfortunately, this past Monday night was one of the worst from how it's been recorded. But as we're back on this thing with Wednesday night, so on one report that I got in front of me, it states Vince McMahon's nightmare scenario, and the Chadsters too for that matter, did not come true. AEW Dynamite will not be the highest rated wrestling show this week, as AEW Dynamite returned to its normal range in the 18 to 49 demographic. Raw set a new record earlier this week for low ratings, and if Dynamite stayed close to its rating from last week, it could have beaten Raw this week. And with the stronger SmackDown set to air on FS1, which just took place this past Friday, Dynamite's first ever victory. At last, the stars did not align for AEW this week, and Vince and the Chadsters live to fight another day. Now, as far as NXT goes, as the story continues, Dynamite drew only 806,000 viewers this week, down nearly from 200,000 from last week's big 995,000 number, driven by the fallout from the shocking events of Winter is Coming that AEW aired. Dynamite earned a .32 in the 18 to 49 demo, enough to snag the number 3 spot for TNT in the top 150 cable shows behind other programs that took place, like MTV's The Challenge and Bravo's Real Housewives. Last week's huge episode of Dynamite only earned a .45, a record high in this year for 2020. Now we jump into the NXT story. It seemed like NXT may have had benefited from AEW's decline this week. The show only drew 766,000 viewers this week, up over 100,000 from last week's number, and the highest viewership the show has had in months. NXT rose from .17 last week to .19 this week in the 18 to 49 demographic. NXT was ranked 34th for the night in the top 150 cable shows. So pretty much the bottom line is that a lot of people weren't expecting, to flip out about NXT losing again. But this is far from the worst case scenario for people that beloved NXT. NXT may have not won the week, which is disappointing, and I'm sure why. But since then, WWE was winning in the ratings, on some level, which has been frustrating for months. As far as SmackDown's been doing good, Raw has been doing so-so, but unfortunately, like I mentioned about last Monday. And pretty much, for this Wednesday, I mean, in my opinion, both shows were decent. There was a lot of great action, which I think we should get into. Like, for example, for NXT, let's see. For NXT, there were some good angles. Of course, New Year's Evil coming up in the month of January. Finn Balor is actually going to have an opponent, and that is going to be once again, Kyle O'Reilly. These two had a phenomenal match at TakeOver pay-per-view, and my goodness, it was just an outstanding performance from both of these guys. Despite Finn Balor suffering a broken jaw, which he had done surgery for, and that's why he was out of action for this past month or so. But Finn Balor is anxious to get back into the ring and defend the NXT title, which is a good thing that the title was kept on him. Otherwise, it was going to be another bad omen, deja vu from when he first won the Universal Championship against Seth Rollins years ago. And because of I believe he had a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
He had to relinquish that title, which was so unfortunate. Here I thought we were going to see Finn Balor have his first ever Universal title run, and of course him being a part of the big time primetime show on Monday Night Raw, and of course that wasn't the case. So him coming back to NXT, it was going to be starting from scratch, but in a better situation and scenario for him, and it looks like it was going to be deja vu all over again. But a broken jaw wasn't going to stop Finn Balor. It was just going to be a matter of time. Everything was goes accordingly, and now we're going to see Finn Balor defend the NXT Championship this coming January for the NXT episode of New Year's Evil against Undisputed Era's Kyle O'Reilly. And I can't wait for that second match to come, because Finn Balor guarantees this isn't part 2. This is going to be the end of the line, and especially for Kyle O'Reilly. So I can't wait, for that to happen. I have great expectations that this presentation for both men is going to be a superb one. It's only, like I said, a matter of time until that match comes to and we witness another one in the history books and in the archives, to where this presentation can definitely supersede over the first one. So I can't wait for that to happen. While we're on the subject of NXT and its storylines and angles, as I dig in here into the stories, another match that took place with Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley. That match, to me, after the history that they had, and I never had a chance to witness the match that they had in NXT UK, the match that they had this past Wednesday night, it was another great performance from both of these women. It was really hard to choose for me to decide, who would definitely get it, but I was expecting Raquel Gonzalez to sneak in and to just cheap shot Rhea Ripley in any way, shape, or form, and she did. which was so unfortunate, because in this one-on-one, we thought we were going to see it, straight up, and that wasn't the case. But I always had that open window to expect Raquel Gonzalez to come in and sneak attack Rhea Ripley, and Toni Storm won her match. So nonetheless, it wasn't a total loss. It was still a great performance. But Raquel Gonzalez is actually at the pike for her to become a superstar in NXT, which is what I've always wanted to see from her, because there is something in Raquel Gonzalez that I always knew she had. She had a mean streak. She has talent. All I want to see her is blossom a whole lot more than where she's at this point. So can't wait to see another match between Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez, because this is definitely far from over. It's not going to end this quick. What would be next for Toni Storm? Only God knows. I think maybe her rivalry with Ember Moon is not going to end either. So I'm expecting, another match between them two. And it'll only be a matter of time. Karrion Kross came back, had an in-ring return match, a very quick one to show dominance once again. And it'll only be a matter of time until he gets the NXT title back as well. So once the match between Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly ends, whoever ends up as champion, Karrion Kross is going to be doing the whole TikTok deal, and it'll be a matter of time until, one of them two get dealt with by Karrion Kross. And it seemed to me like Isaiah Swerve Scott, I seen his backstage promo. I believe I don't know if he's going heel or something, but I felt him heelish for some reason. And I don't know, maybe I was asleep at the whole thing, but, that got me thinking, like, what the heck did he do to go heelish? But I think he had an issue with Jake Atlas, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what's giving Swerve a little bit of a sinister side to him. And I guess we'll see as we move forward and going into 2021, we see how Swerve will develop this whole deal with this heelish term that I'm feeling that he's going to make as far as, making a switcheroo. Of course, Johnny Gargano's group, The Way. I don't know why they call it The Way, because obviously it's only going to head in one direction, and it's the Gargano way, but they decided to call it The Way. It's a 4-person group: Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Austin Theory, and Indy Hartwell. I think this could be a group that could last, for a bit. But I don't feel it's going to be a group that's going to be around for long. So it'll only be a matter of time for how long these four are going to stick together. Nonetheless, they do got some things going on. Indy Hartwell had a match with Shotzi Blackheart. That match was a pretty good one. I like Shotzi's performance. Indy Hartwell was also on the rise, but Candice LeRae, of course, stuck her nose in that match because her deal with Shotzi Blackheart, that's not going to be over with. So we're going to expect a whole lot more within that run. What intrigues me with the angle with Xia Li, and of course, her friend Boa, they're being put through all of these brutal challenges, fights, because this past Wednesday, where I'm seeing this angle, this segment, these two were literally crying more for Xia Li than Boa. But Xia Li, they're trying to get this mean streak, this evil dark side out of her to make it into a vicious killer of sorts, or some type of a dark fighter. And obviously that's not within Xia Li, but from what this old guy, this sensei, he doesn't even have a name, and then of course this woman, this figure who's sitting on the side and witnessing all of this. It's like they're training these guys to be killers, but more for Xia Li because she was whooping the hell out of Boa, getting all these bloodied face cuts and all this stuff. It's like it seemed a bit kabuki-ish, but I get it. So I wonder how long all of this is gonna last until we see, I guess, a killer side out of Xia Li. We'll see how 2021 is gonna turn for Xia Li as this other side of her, comes out onto the open. And as we mentioned, we didn't mention how O'Reilly got to be the number one contender to go against Smith Balor, but the match that Kyle O'Reilly had with Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight, my goodness, it stole the show for this week. So maybe that's what drew the numbers for NXT this week over AEW, because this main event, it was just one of the best that I've ever seen. O'Reilly and Dunne, they put on a freaking hell of a performance. These guys are giving it their all. They don't care how hurt they be or how it comes out at the end, but at the end it was satisfactory because once again O'Reilly proving that he belongs in the main event. He's proving that he can be a top player, which is a surprise. That there's no egos in the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole already had so many shots. Now O'Reilly's stepping up, and he wants to get at Finn Balor. That really says a lot about Kyle O'Reilly. And I never had a doubt about Kyle O'Reilly being the next superstar because we witnessed this stuff from Ring of Honor, being in the tag team with Bobby Fish, but never got to see any of his singles matches up to this point in NXT. But O'Reilly has a value of how a single superstar can come out of this guy, and just by seeing his sheer performance alone, it's just outstanding. Nothing like I've ever seen. Hopefully, the quality matches that he brings out is going to be something, really cool, really outlandish, and that just got me, oohing and on, like something cool and magical has taken place. But yeah, that was something awesome to witness. And these guys, the grizzled young veterans, we haven't seen them in the ring as much, but they just keep doing these backstage promos. These guys are pretty good. Obviously, they were in NXT UK for a reason, displaying what their value is as a tag team. But we definitely got to see them out of the backstage and get matches in NXT. But it's, I guess, kind of rough because who's gonna dare to step up to these guys? Other than that, Tommaso Ciampa still got his flow going on after the match that they had at this past during War Games on the network. Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, they had a hell of a performance as well. Their rivalry is still going. It all depends on how all of this is going to flourish some more. But, we're seeing the best out of Tommaso Ciampa in a long time. We're seeing the best out of Timothy Thatcher, within a while that he's been getting this push to come out and be this next superstar. So it'll only be a matter of time until these guys have a match again, and we'll see who is the better man. The tag team match that opened up the show, Leon Ruff and Kushida against Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory. That match was pretty good for what it was worth, but I expected some cheating from the way. And of course, that led to Gargano and Austin Theory winning their match. So that was a pretty good sight to see.
Well, let me just point out by saying, that's a good review. And for the record, I did not. I wish I could see any of this, but I'll do myself a favor and I'll watch these videos. But from what I'm hearing, it's clear from that they're obviously setting the pieces for what would become a New Year's Eve in a matter of weeks. It's like there's something brewing. It's like because the theme is New Year's Evil. It's like who might be headed to the dark side. Who's gonna show evil? Will it be Isaiah Scott? Will it be Zaya Lee? Or will it just be the evil from the way of the Garganos? Will it be will it be just the evil of those, or the Grizzly Young Veterans, or whoever who just does, or could it just be the evil of the Prince himself? I mean, knowing that he was the founder of the Bullet Club, and he'll do anything it takes to retain the NXT Championship. But all I could say is that just stay glued to NXT this past Wednesday, so that once it all unfolds and New Year's Evil, that we could say, "Oh my, what? Oh goodness, what have you just seen?"
Since I've been talking pretty much all about NXT, you witnessed obviously Dynamite, right?
Yes.
You want to get into that?
Okay. The one match that appealed to me that night was the what could have been the 14-man tag. However, it became a 12-man tag because unfortunately Wardlow had to bow out due to a family emergency. I don't know if it was a death in the family or someone got hurt, but unfortunately due to that, Wardlow chose to bow out, and therefore he and freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy decided to sit out the match. But that I expected a good match nonetheless, because when we saw the Inner Circle take on the likes of these three teams, which is Top Flight, the Varsity Blondes, and the Best Friends, and collectively, when you put the whole thing together to make I guess it was not I thought that was the main event, because the build-up was there for that match, but it wasn't the main event. But you put the whole thing together for this match, between these 12 men, and the way it's like you sort of had the issues going on between the Inner Circle, and pretty much who isn't fed up of putting up with the bullying from the Inner Circle, and pretty much is like, no matter how united were the Varsity Blondes, the Best Friends, Top Flight, no matter what happened, but still, just when they thought they had the decision, right underhandedly, the Inner Circle pulled the victory. And yeah, I mean, even though MJF ended up getting the victory, but the way how they worked collectively was really, it just goes to show that they'll do anything it takes to be the dominant force in AEW.
May I point out that the reason for this match and why it ended up the way it did is because, of course, the controversial chatter that JR did in his podcast, stating amongst the lines of, friends and foes getting together for some, flying idiot to land on them, and that's wrestling. That's how they get over. That's a plugger. Whatever the lines were, but those lines came out of JR's mouth, and it set a fire with all of these guys. That even Ben Cutler took it to his Twitter and repeated the exact same lines that JR stated, but for the match, which was this match that you just talked about, for it to set to take place. And I don't see anything wrong with it. This is the era that we're in, so JR is gonna have to live with it. This is not 1980, 86, or whatever the year JR was, doing commentating for TBS. Those days are long and gone. I'm pretty sure him being back on the Turner Network was something that, he never expected. But hey, he's along there for the ride, right? Because JR still feels that he's got a lot to give, right? But still, what I don't understand is that JR has that other side of him where, he's all for the business. He lives for the business, and everything that has to do with his career was all about for the business. But also he undermines the talent that exists right now within the company that he works for AEW. That I don't appreciate, for him to slam down on these guys when he's still stuck on his traditional ways. That I get, that he's got that streak in him. But come on. These are different times now. This isn't, like I said, this isn't the 80s anymore. This isn't the 90s anymore. I think JR really went over when he was part of the WWF and the Attitude Era, because if he wasn't in it, then God knows what would have been of his career. Probably would never be the same again, having to experience, such over the top feel in his career and in his personal life, of course.
Well, let me just point out this, and even I too was taken aback from what JR tweeted or mentioned on social media. But the one thing I do know is that for a man who has been in the business since the late 70s, and little by little he started coming to the realization, because other than being being commentator at WWE, he was head of talent relations, and he knew the hard way. He learned the hard way over at WWE that you have to be a very good worker. And I'm not undermining nobody's working ability, no matter if you're part of WWE, no matter if you're part of AEW, no matter if you're part of Impact or Ring of Honor or New Japan, wherever. It's just that pretty much they got that radar. The radar goes off and say like they say, he, she, or they. He's a good worker. She's a good worker. They're good workers, but they can be better. I think that it was a comment that was taken out of context, because some people supported his comments. Others were like he had the audacity to mention that. But this is my opinion. I'm not for what JR said, but I'm trying to be understanding, because right now it is vital for these men and women to be good workers. They're not there to blatantly hurt or injure one another. Accidents are part of the game. It's just that, like they say, you're bashing someone just because they say, that move was really like a disc or whatever. And I'm not gonna be that type of guy. I just want to be that fan that wants to be consumed by the action, by the story, and say, I'm not gonna just say they executed a moonsault bad. I'm not gonna say they executed a suplex bad out of that, because one thing I just told myself is these men and women are professionals. Like, they pretty much know what to do, and I'm gonna mention a little tidbit. Nobody gave Goldberg a hard time when he gave Bret a very bad kick to the head, but he did get a hard time for that afterwards, not that then. But that's where these men and women, these wrestlers should learn the hardest lesson, that if something bad happens, it's all an accident. Accidents happen. We know that, and I'm pretty sure you at home should know that as well.
Now, that's another example that you just mentioned. Bret Hart and Goldberg. What happened? Already 20 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years ago at this point. It's going to be that I guess anniversary, if you want to call it, because it happened at Starrcade in 2000. The unfortunate accident that Bret Hart suffered at the hands of Goldberg. And Bret Hart stated to Goldberg to not hurt him. Whatever happens in the match, he just pretty much told Goldberg, please don't hurt me. And unfortunately, how the match went down, it ended up going the way it happened, and unfortunately, Bret Hart got hurt. And that led to many unfortunate things, like he had a minor stroke along the way, which was unfortunate to hear, because Bret Hart has been devoted in this business for such a long time, a pure traditionalist, and I guess I can understand why he'll never let this go, because in his mind he'll still state, still today, all of this could have been avoided if Goldberg wouldn't have hurt him. There wouldn't be a minor heart stroke. There wouldn't be other things. There wouldn't be other complications along the way.
He wouldn't have early retirement.
He wouldn't have had early retirement. All of that, But that's because how much Bret Hart is a consummate professional. Goldberg, I can't say anything bad about Goldberg, but still, what he did in Bret Hart's mind was unforgivable. I don't know if Goldberg ever stated an apology, and if Bret Hart accepts the apology, but obviously, you know, Bret Hart is still irate at that point of never probably forgiving the man for what he did to him. And that was an unfortunate move, unfortunately. But nonetheless, what I was going to state, to back up the claim that JR did, it was Dax from FTR that backed them up on that fact. But as we move along with AEW Dynamite, let me ask you this question: the first opening match that we've seen, has Hangman Page joined the Dark Order?
Not in the slightest, not to me.
But you want to talk about that match?
Well, let me just say, I mean, and that's 6-man tag match with Hangman and the Dark Order's John Silver and Alex Reynolds against the Hardy Party, is what they call themselves, Matt Hardy and Private Party, and that when that was good. I mean, pretty much the combination of Matt Hardy and Private Party was cool, but truly what I found cheesy was how Hangman, pretty much how John Silver and Alex Reynolds came out accompanying Hangman. They were like, listen, like Yippee Cow, like Yippee Ki-Yay Cowboys and all that, and especially at the time, I'm like, oh my god. But nonetheless, down to the matches, like there was the unity of sorts with Hangman and the Dark Order was possibly there. I mean, they could have done it well, but just would look like it was right there. But unfortunately, the combination of the Hardy Party, of Matt Hardy and Private Party, pretty much got the edge on them. But the question is, but there's still the question: could Hangman Page possibly join the Dark Order, knowing that the Bucks moved on, knowing that Cody moved on, knowing that Kenny is now on his own? I mean, we don't even know if he's gonna consider being a solo player for now, or is he considering joining the Dark Order? I mean, pretty much there's too many questions about Hangman Page. Well, it's too early to tell. Maybe next year we'll get some answers.
I believe Hangman is too much of an individual to be with other guys at this point. What's going on with the Elite? Obviously, they broke up. For others to be elite or wanting to get at the level that all of these guys are at this point. Because, like I mentioned so many times about Hangman Page, when we were watching these guys during their days in Ring of Honor, I felt like Adam Page wasn't at the equivalent of these guys. But then, as we began to watch these guys on Ring of Honor, we started to see the improvements in Hangman Adam Page. We started to see how this guy was getting back in the, having kick-ass matches and seeing him get these wins. That already by the time, like I mentioned, that they have arrived to Chicago and do this autograph session, and I got the chance and the honor of meeting these guys one-on-one, I literally told Adam Page, I'm like, dude, man, I love how you're getting back into the game, how you're, the improvements that you've been having, how you're having these awesome matches. Your in-ring work has just been over the top. I'm pretty sure that you're going to get over, and hopefully I would like to see you being a world champion someday. And he was like, oh, man, I appreciate, your kind words. Thank you very much. And, Adam Page, very humble. He's a very humble man from the moment that I got to have that one-on-one, 2-minute tidbit when they came over here for their autograph session at Pro Wrestling Tees. Like I said, those are one of the days that I will never forget, having to meet these guys. And I'm an old fart. These guys are, young and still got a lot to deliver for this business. So, for me, that's a satisfaction as a fan, knowing that these guys are at the top of their game and knowing that they got a lot more to give, and God knows until when that line is going to be, crossed and finished for them. But Adam Page, he still have long ways to go. And it'll be a matter of time until we see him as AEW World Champion, because that was supposed to be the given for him in the beginning, since the inception of AEW, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But right now, as I'm seeing, this is all just pokes for fun. Supposedly having to see Adam Page side with the Dark Order, I don't think that's literally going to happen. This is all just pokes for fun. Because like I said, Adam Page is so valuable as a solo player right now. He's got a long ways to go. He wants to be champion. I would like to see him champion. Right now, all of this is just for, entertainment purposes of him siding with the Dark Order. And if you didn't catch the latest episode of Being the Elite, which I haven't, but we got to see it after this, you'll see how, that entertainment aspect with Page and the Dark Order, how it's, continue to flourish a whole bit more. How about this? Eddie Kingston having to call out or talking about Pac and Lance Archer, and of course the melee ensued during that whole segment.
From what I recall that night, Eddie Kingston came out that night and pretty much called out whoever and he said, here I am, want a piece of me. That he started, as usual, running his mouth and pretty much egging on until all of a sudden, and they start getting fed up, and then all of a sudden out comes the Murderhawk monster Lance Archer to get a piece of him, and from there the melee ensued from there, and then from there came to Eddie's aid, of course, is always the Butcher and the Blade, and right there they started piling them until all of a sudden the Death Triangle came to excuse me again. The Death Triangle came to Murderhawk's aid, but it was clearly evident that Pac is not done with Eddie whatsoever. But it was pretty much the face-to-face showdown as to pretty much who there will be like two straws between the Murderhawk and the Bastard, as to say who will get Eddie Kingston first. Would it be the Murderhawk or would it be the Bastard? But pretty much Eddie should watch out for himself, because eventually there comes a time where people just can't wait to beat the living daylights out of him.
I like Eddie Kingston right now at this point. I've always liked Eddie Kingston because Eddie Kingston never changed since the time that I seen him in Impact Wrestling. He's been street dog and hood and all that, but he keeps it real. That's the element that I love about Eddie Kingston, how true he is to himself. Coming into AEW from having to be seen in the NWA, I felt a value in Eddie Kingston, and I'm glad AEW capitalized on signing Eddie Kingston, because Eddie Kingston has a lot to bring to the table. He has a lot to bring to the table, and he is demonstrating it as we speak. He already made enemies within Pac, also with Lance Archer. Who is going to get the piece, or who's going to get the better chunk out of Eddie Kingston? Only time will tell. But in that segment that we witnessed Wednesday night, it was something good to get a grip on and see what is the continuation of that whole sort. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in these upcoming weeks. I know AEW's got, 2 best nights of the works. They got their answer to NXT's New Year's Evil. AEW's got the New Year's Smash, yes. They got their New Year's Smash TV. I guess I'll call it that. So they got something good in the works. They're going to have a great lineup for these upcoming weeks. Of course, they're going to have a Christmas edition as well. So all of that's going to be pretty good to watch, as we're just, hoping for this upcoming Wednesday to arrive to get all that card, started in the works and seeing what they got cooking for us, for the viewers to enjoy. Let's talk about the Acclaimed. These guys have been having good matches on Dark. Their names don't stick with me just yet, but the guy who's been rapping lately has, taking a page out of John Cena and doing the basic thugonomics type of thing. This guy got some good blow raps, but I'm like, okay, this isn't 2002. I already heard this so much. I know this guy's, has that Keenan rapping style. I mean, this past Wednesday, this dude got burned by Kazarian because Kazarian answered the raps. If only you would have heard. Did you get to see that? Did you saw how Kazarian burned them out with the raps?
Yes.
How he answered them back?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my ears. I'm like, wow. Kazarian was at the top-notch level of this battle rap, so to speak, and he answered him to the volume of 10, and it's like, whoa, man, I did not expect this out of Kazarian, man, but this was awesome. To me, that was golden tunes, man. That was literally dynamite in the sun, so to speak. But unfortunately, in that tag team match with the Acclaim and SCU, the Acclaim got the upper hand and won. Why? Because they want to be heard, and of course, they've been involved as of late with in the angle that's been going on with the Young Bucks and TH2. So the Acclaimed is literally stating their name to the Young Bucks, and because of that, they challenged the champions to a match, and I believe next week, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to get their shot at it. But we know the Acclaim is going to have a lot of work in their hands, and they're not going to get the belts right away. But the Acclaim is going to show why they're worthy of having that shot. But not only the Acclaim, I have been lately impressed with another tag team, and you just mentioned them earlier. Who were they again? The Martin brothers?
Top Flight.
Top Flight. I've been impressed with these guys. These guys, to me, are a breath of fresh air. There's just something about these two brothers that really are enjoyable to watch right now. So I don't know how they've been found. I don't know where they've been wrestling at. But I'm on board with these guys, like literally on board with Top Flight. I just hope to see them in more matches and more quality matches like the ones that we witnessed as of late. Those are the Martin brothers. I'm impressed with them. I want to see more of these guys. Now that they're on Dynamite, hopefully they stay on Dynamite. If for some reason they get thrown onto Dark for a match because they haven't been seen on television, or because, someone else is getting television time and not them, I can get that. But their value is on Dynamite, and they've been displaying it as of late. They should stay there and have more tag team matches or 6-man tag matches or whatever. But these guys, they got something that I'm impressed with. I want to see more of these guys. But yeah, so the Acclaim is going to have their shot at the Young Bucks for the AEW tag team titles. We're going to see that really soon. Moving on. The match that I've witnessed with La Sicaria, Ivelisse, and Diamante, I've been wanting to see them on Dynamite already. I know they've been having numerous matches on Dark, but these two ladies, from the beginning that I heard that there was going to be a women's tag team tournament, having to witness that Ivelisse and Diamante were going to be together, I'm all like, thank you. Thank you. I wanted these two Latina girls to be together because I heard how good Ivelisse is singles-wise. I heard how good Diamante is singles-wise. But if you put them together as a package, you got a freaking ticking time bomb of ass kickers that'll show you what it's like to be in that ring with them, and they give you everything they got. And even to a point to make sure that, once you've been in a match with them, they are not going to take it easy on you. But I can't say the same now that I witnessed that they have faced Big Swole and the NWA Women's Champion, Serena Deeb. Now, Serena Deeb, we haven't seen her wrestle in WWE. But we got to see her wrestle elsewhere ever since she got released from the company this year. So it's a good thing that Serena Deeb took control of her career and decided to get back on the warpath and wrestle elsewhere, because now we got to see how good Serena Deeb really is and why she is the current NWA Women's Champion right now.
Well, again, I don't question decisions made in WWE. Of course, and I know you do too, and of course, none of you at home do as well. But but clearly, I mean, honestly, I never thought I would see Serena Deeb become a champion, especially NWA champion, and of course, some of you know what transpired last Wednesday was something that took place the week before when the Vicious Vixens attacked Red Velvet and coming to Red Velvet's aid were Big Swole and Serena Deeb, especially when Ivelisse and Diamante decided to provoke them as well, and that's what led to this women's tag match, and that was a good match between these four women. These four women brought it on, and truly, I thought that Ivelisse and Diamante were going to get the victory, but the way how Swole and Serena worked together, that was how they ended up getting the victory.
That's right. I hope to see more of Ivelisse and Diamante on Dynamite, because like I said, they already had too many matches on AEW Dark. Not to say that they don't deserve it, but their showcase, their in-ring action belongs on primetime, in my opinion. And I want to see more of them on Dynamite. From what I just witnessed, despite their loss to Big Swole and Serena Deeb, I understand Serena Deeb is the focal point of the NWA Women's title. I understand Big Swole is the number one contender to the AEW Women's title and Hikaru Shida. Big Swole has been on a major role as of late. She busted her ass for it. It is well deserved. But I still want to see more of Ivelisse and Diamante onto Dynamite, because in my opinion, that's where they belong. On primetime television. That's where they belong. We talked about Cody earlier. He had a one-on-one match with Angelico. In my opinion, it was it was a very decent match that they had. I was expecting Cody to win. Of course, this is a grooming step up of sorts after, we all got the news of him becoming, very soon he's going to become a father in 2021. Once again, Cody and Brandy, congratulations. But Cody and Angelico, they had a very decent match. I know TH2 having issues with some of the elite members, but now they're kind of taking that, that rage point over to Cody. And of course, Cody answered it the best way he did, which was, of course, getting the one-on-one shot with him. And Cody answered as he would normally do.
Yes, and I gotta say that was another good match. That singles match between Cody and Angelico, and pretty much it couldn't come at a good time for Cody, because not only some of you already know, not only is going to be an expectant father, he's going to participate next month on TBS's new reality competitive series, The Go Big Show. And of course, we had to specify not to implicate a current WWE wrestler on the roster, but nonetheless, the way how the scenarios went after the victory with Cody, still Taz came out afterwards griping about the direction of him and his team, and said, congratulations, Cody, but they want to give him a going away present, if you will, because eventually Taz is still over the fact that he and Team Taz feel slighted that they're not getting the attention or the adulation they felt they needed, because constantly they've been taking their frustrations on Cody, constantly on Darby Allin, and just when it looked like things were going to look dire for both of them, all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes the icon Sting, and then Sting takes out his bat and starts pointing at Team Taz and possibly at Taz, but something tells me that there's something brewing in the works, a rivalry for real, because for what let's say, it looked like Sting's gonna align with Cody and with Darby Allin or whoever else. So obviously cannot stand this massive these rants, these whines Well, I say the one because it's like his money. These complaints from Taz, but what is going to be brewing? It might not happen next week because it's a holiday theme, but possibly either part 1 or part 2 of New Year's Smash, because eventually Sting's unification with Cody and with Darby against Team Taz could possibly lead to something huge brewing.
Well, we don't know yet if this is officially a unification of sorts, because Sting has always been a loner. He is all about standing up for the little man, but in this case, Cody's not a little man. He is an EVP of AEW of sorts and a full-time wrestler. But the way it works with Sting is that he's there to settle the injustices of the world. That has always been Sting's calling card. He's there to even out the odds against the greater evil, the lesser of evil, anything that is evil at this point. He's there to combat that. And while we're on the topic of Sting, I know that Sting's contract is going to be a huge one, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be for a very good while, for a very good long time. I would like to see Sting become a heel in AEW. I know in other places it haven't worked. We've never seen it in WWE. We've seen it in TNA, even though it only lasted for a little bit. But I liked how that heelism that it took, it kind of went one way and then out in the other with the arrival of Immortal and all of that. And we witnessed that in WCW, but unfortunately in WCW, it never really blossomed and never progressed because the fans, they did not want to see Sting. They did not believe Sting as a heel because the fans loved them too much. And no matter how Steve wanted to be as heelish for the Sting character, it just did not click with the fans because the fans, they don't want to believe that Sting is a heel. And unfortunately, it did not work. For me, I wanted to see it work. I really wanted to see it blossom for him. But unfortunately, with the fans calling out and saying, we don't like seeing Sting as a heel. We want him to see as the good guy again. Because, they got used to it. Because that's how it's always been. Because that's how it's always been stuck. So, now that we got to see so many sides of Sting over the years, at least within these last number of years, there has to be a heelish run in AEW for Sting to be tried out at least one time. Whether loved or hated, at the end of the day, Sting will always be one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He is a Hall of Famer for a reason. TNA, WWE, doesn't matter. Sting has done a lot for this business. He still has a lot to give to this business. And that's the reason why he's in AEW right now. Like I said, just when Undertaker is done, Sting's still got a long ways to go. But ring performance aside, we know that Sting cannot give as much performance in the ring as he used to. And I'm talking about wrestling. Maybe 1 or 2 more matches in him. But other than that, I don't see Sting wrestling in AEW at all. He'll give the 1 or 2 matches when it's the appropriate time, when it's the right guy. Who can be that guy? I don't know. Cody, maybe. I don't know. I can't see anyone else wrestling Sting, to be honest. I know there is an equal to him as far as a dark side and looking things abroad in Darby Allin. Because there's a reason why he was seen on Wednesday hanging from on top from not the rafters literally, but at the top part of Daly's place. So, having to see those anecdotes and how wrestlers nowadays can embody Sting because of what he's done in the past, that could be easily portrayed at anybody. And Darby Allin is the perfect guy who can who can take that little dark skepticism that Sting has performed before and have it inside him, and even he could be like a Sting wannabe or whatever. But because he has the face paint and everything, it can be represented easily. So it'll only be a matter of time until we see Sting wrestle 1 or 2 matches, and that's it. Do I expect that right away? No, I don't expect that right away. Sting, with just his presence alone and the fans giving him the loudest pops ever, to me, that's just enough. Because I've been a Sting fan ever since the Crow days. Like I said, I unfortunately never got to see Sting as the Surfer Sting and all of that when he first started with Jim Crockett Promotions and all of that. I get to witness it now on the network, thank God. But still, having to be on the ride when it was Crow Sting and NWO and all of that, those were the greatest days of my life as a fan, having to witness that on TV. Unfortunately, I never got to see it on live at a live show until when WCW was at the borderline of going out of business. That's when we got to see Sting and all those other superstars. But Sting still has value right now. I would like to see him as a heel, hopefully down along the line. Maybe not right away in 2021 with AEW, but as long as the contract permits, I would like to see him I would like to see a Sting heel turn somehow, someday along the line. As far as Sting is concerned. That was a beautiful segue, by the way. Having to connect those two together. So now, let me see if we have talked about everything. And we have, so now that leads us to the very last thing. Before we jump to the AEW part, let's jump into Impact. They're still talking about, Impact got the biggest numbers. Bullshit. The reason why biggest numbers is because they're still making you wait until the Kenny Omega angle in Impact Wrestling, which is at the very last part of the show. So I'm glad I didn't DVR this week's Impact just to see the clip on YouTube. I just went to the clip on YouTube. That was enough for me. But from what I saw the clip on YouTube, that was enough for me to see the 2 parts. The Machine Guns, I believe they had a tag team match. And along the lines, I recall it led to the back where the Machine Guns got their butts kicked by the Good Brothers. Rich Swann was there. And of course, Kenny Omega took it over. And of course, they made it official to have a 6-man tag match for the next pay-per-view, Hard to Kill. Now, here's my opinion on the thing. Will it give out good buy rates? I don't know, because the pay-per-view is not good enough for me to buy for just one match. And I am not going to waste my money on just one match. When maybe the next night it'll be leaked out on the internet or maybe on YouTube. I don't know. But I'll still find out the results anyway. I really don't have to witness the match. Unless if it was a really good match that takes place, then yeah, I'll probably wait until YouTube uploads it, or if it... Oh, I forgot. I already canceled my Impact Plus. And why? Oh, yeah. The favorite eras of mine that I've watched TNA of back in the day, Impact doesn't even have them. I don't know why the heck Impact is stalling for those timelines. Like, for example, everything that had to do with the Main Event Mafia, the very first run of the Main Event Mafia, it's not on Impact Plus. Everything that had to do with the majority of the stuff with Hogan and Bischoff when they were there and the whole Immortal thing, or the Aces and Eights type of thing, it's not an Impact Plus, except for the pay-per-views that they were involved. Okay, the pay-per-views are good and all, but still, with me, it's all about following the timeline. Everything that happened on Impact Plus the pay-per-view. And if they don't have all of that, then what's the point of even having the subscription? So I know I have it for another few months, but I haven't even watched anything as of late. Nonetheless, I I feel that this match is going to be a good one. It is going to be huge. But like I said, it is not worthy of the $40 to waste on just one match. And like I said, nothing else in Impact Wrestling right now appeals to me. Except, okay, the Machine Guns, they had a match, cool. I can watch that on YouTube. If anything else happens that may appeal on me, I can also watch that on YouTube. But they really got nothing going on in Impact. And the only reason if they want to claim is that they got the highest views or whatever, it's because of the Kenny Omega segment, and they're saving it for last. They are saving this segment for last. And still, everyone around in the world are giving them the numbers that they need because, we want to see Kenny Omega in Impact. We want to see Kenny Omega in Impact. I mean, does it sound like I'm bitching about it? No, but I'm thinking smart in having to see for just one segment. I can catch it on YouTube. I don't have to DR the whole damn episode just to get to that part. That's what I'm saying. And it's cool that you got an AEW wrestler on the Impact roster to do a pay-per-view match. And I believe it is a huge dynamic of sorts. I'm not going to take nothing away from the match that's going to be aired on January on pay-per-view, which is Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, the reunion of the Bullet Club, so to speak, against Rich Swann, Impact Wrestling's champion, and the tag team champions in the Motor City Machine Guns. I believe it is going to be a good match. But unfortunately, like I said, I'm not going to waste $40 for just one match. There has to be other matches that can deliver Hard to Kill as the pay-per-view to watch or one of the pay-per-views to watch in 2021 for Impact Wrestling. And unfortunately, it is not. In my opinion, it is not. I don't know if you want to add to this before we get to the match that took place with Omega and AEW this week.
Well, honestly, I saw the episode. I did see last Tuesday's telecast on Impact, and yeah, pretty much they were good matches, and yeah, pretty much the whole focal point was the pretty much Kenny Omega and Don Callis' puppeteering of sorts between the two shows. But again, the problem is that neither side, I mean, they're not giving either side, good imaginations, I guess, because it's talking about they want to plug in Hard to Kill and everything. But again, knowing full well that you got knowing full well that they got New Year's Smash, knowing full well that Kenny is involved with Hard to Kill, but hopefully before the year ends, I mean, in order for both AEW and Impact to save face, they have to find a way to involve both shows. I mean, it's not fair to say, okay, we always see Kenny on board on Impact. It's like hopefully we see someone from Impact invade Dynamite. Then and only then we give the fans the television that we like to see, and who we like to see on Dynamite possibly. Would it be we could see Rich Swann, we could see Moose, we could see we could see Eric Young. I mean, we could see anybody from Impact invade AEW, but hopefully that takes place at New Year's Smash. Somebody from Impact invade AEW. That way, they can get people are convinced and buying Hard to Kill, and from there everything starts selling for AEW and for Impact, because obviously, I mean, nothing against the presence of Kenny and Don Callis on both Impact and AEW, because since Kenny is the AEW champion, but quite frankly, they're not giving for now they're not giving fans much to the imagination, but that's just for now. I mean, hopefully before the year ends, they make the story a little bit more exciting.
And Kenny Omega right now is the most hated man in wrestling right now. I mean, character-wise, because Kenny's back as that that cynical bastard that you just love to hate how arrogant he is, but he backs up everything that he says. And that's the beauty of Kenny Omega's cleaner character. Even though they don't describe him as a cleaner right now, but those are shades of the cleaner that we witnessed past when he was a part of the Bullet Club in Japan. And at that point, like I said, barely was on the Kenny Omega bandwagon, just to see how truly I guess quote unquote a god that he is inside of the wrestling ring. But his performances have always been, stellar. They've always been, beyond a 6, 7, 8, 10-star match, whatever. His performances speak for themselves. I mean, I still love his matches with him and Okada. Those are some of the best matches I've ever witnessed in my life looking at New Japan Pro Wrestling. Those are best and iconic in my opinion. And I know Kenny Omega will never have those type of matches again. All the matches that he's having now are sort of like meager to best. I mean, I'm not going to take away the match that he had with him and Jon Moxley the previous year, because of course this year was a slop. I did not like it, and it's the expected of a guy that a guy roots for Moxley, barely for Kenny, but you expect trash to come off at the end, and to me it was trash. The match that took place this year with Moxley and Kenny Omega, because Omega cheated and Don Callis was the upper hand in that whole cheating scenario. But nonetheless, the match that he had with Joey Janela this past Wednesday, it wasn't even a match. It was freaking brutality. I don't know how Joey Janela absorbed every single hit that Omega, packed the wall up to him and delivered, but he did, and Joey had some good spots in returning favor to Kenny for all the shots that he endured. And Don Callis was yapping on the mic like if he was the Jackal again. Annoying then, annoying now. And I got no love for Don Callis as the character. Don Callis, he's done a lot for the business. We've seen him in WWE as a Jackal. We've seen him in ECW as Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, him being the Top Gun, what is he? EVP for Impact?
Yes.
And I think he still calls commentating matches in New Japan. I don't know, because I haven't seen New Japan as of late. I know they still got the Bullet Club going on, but in my opinion right now, Bullet Club already surpassed, popularity. And they're still going on. To me, it's over and done with, to be honest. They're still on a run right now, but Bullet Club overpeaked their popularity. So having to see another match of them, it's like seeing matches from like the yesteryears when they first started out. So to me, that's pretty much done with. But yeah, Kenny Omega just threw a major beatdown at Joey Janela and won, gave some hard-ass V-triggers, and at the end, the one-wing angel. And then, to my surprise, when they were still yapping on the mic, both Kenny and Don Callis, Pac came out and gave him the startling news and revelation of the night, where a match has been signed. A match that should have taken place, I believe, last month, but didn't because Rey Fenix was injured. So we will get to see that match, Kenny Omega and Rey Fenix, for the AEW World Championship. I cannot wait for that match to take place.
Well, let me just point out by saying that in that match, it was a decent match. I mean, I gotta admit, Joey almost gave Kenny a run for his money. He did everything he could, but unfortunately, Kenny fought really, really hard, and unfortunately, had not been
Kenny was just too much.
Had not been for the table on the outside, pretty much, Joey Janela could have possibly been.
Oh yeah, I believe Kenny got almost any weapon in hand and whipped Joey with it.
Yes.
And like I said, I don't know how Joey Janela absorbed all of those hits and everything that Kenny delivered to him, but he was still on his feet to take some more until he couldn't take no more.
Right. But nonetheless, Kenny retained the belt. But of course, pretty much would lead to part two of the topic, when Pac came out and said to Kenny, it said like you did not beat everybody. There's a challenger for you, and that's Rey Fenix, and say that you will defend the AEW title against Fenix at New Year's Smash, and that set the the scenario possibly. I mean, like I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, who from Impact are we most likely to see appear on New Year's Smash? Anything to give the fan to give more meaning to the story, make it more exciting. I mean, once into the Wednesday after uh New Year's Smash in that title match. I mean, I'm not hinting to say who from Impact Wrestling might uh, cross over to Jacksonville and to Dynamite, but it would be a nice thing to see. That would really make the story more exciting.
Well, that is that as far as this week with the Wednesday night war between AEW and NXT. Now we jump to talking about Raw and SmackDown this week, of course, leading towards TLC for this Sunday on the network. We're going to begin with Raw, and I can't believe that I've heard this week that Raw suffered an all-time low rating this week for their episode. As I'm getting into the story, and it states WWE is a long way from their Attitude Era glory days if the TV ratings in America are to be believed. Monday Night Raw averaged 1.527 million viewers on the USA Network this week, down 12% from last week's 1.737 million viewers. That's half of what WWE was drawing a decade ago and miles away from the 5 and 6 million viewers it attracted at the turn of the millennium. Of course, viewing habits have drastically changed since then, with YouTube and streaming services rising to prominence. Not to mention the ability to record shows, but watching them later detracting from the live numbers. Still, the numbers WWE draws, which have typically been in and around 2.5 million for the past few years, are what USA Network and Fox pay mega money for, and that's the driving force behind WWE's revenue, especially in an age like this one where live gates are non-existent. Should the networks start to dislike those numbers and don't feel they're worth what they're paying, come WWE's next TV deals, they could be in trouble. For this week's Raw, the first hour drew 1.627 million viewers. The second hour drew 1.512 million viewers. So remember, first hour, 1.627 million. Second hour, 1.512 million. The third and final hour drew 1.441 million viewers. Raw was ranked 31st for the net in viewership on American cable, down from last week's 20th position. Oh, my goodness. While it would be ridiculous to say that AEW are coming for WWE or anything close to that, it is a significant shift, and clearly WWE are losing viewers and AEW is gaining them. What is Vince McMahon and WWE going to do about it? Plans are afoot. Talking to a source just at that point of this report, who said the record low Raw rating news isn't setting well with those in power, to a point where they expect some reactionary decisions to be made. Time will tell. WWE have tried a few things in recent years, namely the 24/7 on-demand title and Raw Underground, in a bid to turn the tide. Something more drastic may need to happen to reinvigorate their product, as according to the numbers, they lost 26% of their audience from the same time last year. So that is one report. Let me jump onto the second report that I've seen here. And this was also published 4 days ago. Let me see if everything is exactly what was stated on the other one. Okay, so let me read. As noted, this week's WWE TLC Go Home edition of Monday Night Raw set an all-time low in total viewership, a new all-time low in viewership for each hour, and a new all-time low in the key demographics. Raw averaged 1.527 million viewers on the USA Network, down 12% from last week's 1.737 million viewers. According to WrestleVotes, the news of the record lows numbers isn't sitting well with those in power to a point where they expect reactionary decisions to be made in the near future. For this week's show, the first hour drew 1.6 million. The previous week's hour, now they got the comparison from this week and last week. So let me read the entire paragraph here. So for this week's show, the first hour drew 1.627 million. Last week's first hour drew 1.852 million. Now the second hour. The second hour this week drew 1.512 million. Last week in hour 2 drew 1.775 million. And the final hour this week, it drew 1.441 million. Last week, for the final hour, it drew 1.583 million. Raw was ranked number 31 for the night in viewership on cable, down from the last week's number 20 spot. Monday's network TV numbers are not available as of this writing for what the report was stated. This week's Raw was down 26% from the exact same time last year. On a related note, last week's Dynamite defeated all 3 hours of Raw in the 18 to 49 demographic. So, yeah. What led to those dropping numbers? We really don't know. To me, that was a surprise. I thought the episode was sort of decent. Unfortunately, it did not equivalent to what SmackDown did this past Friday leading towards TLC. So SmackDown did a hell of a lot of difference as a show goes. Their show was a lot more decent. Of course, we witnessed, the story with Roman Reigns as the head of the table, still going strong, still continuing strong. I love how Paul Heyman was putting over Kevin Owens this past Friday night to be a lot more hyped up for TLC. We're going to get into that in just a bit. Let me see if I can find another story, and that way we can talk about, what we liked for the Raw show and what we didn't like and things of that nature. Okay, so I got another story here. So it says WWE's Monday Night Raw posted record low ratings, which may cause the company to take swift and serious measures to regain its footing. Things have not been going WWE's way as of late. This past Monday night with Raw, reportedly received record low ratings, which are not sitting well with the executives of WWE. It has been reported that they will likely make some reactionary decisions in the wake of the ratings. Although there was no indication of what these decisions might be, there were reports last week that a number of superstars, including Keith Lee, have been sent back to the Performance Center to refine their in-ring work. It was also reported that writers were being asked to put together a list of superstars who they felt are being underutilized. For example, Cesaro, Chad Gable, Angel Garza, Carmella, and Peyton Royce. Now, let me state right here, these are good names for selection. Cesaro has always been underutilized. Up to this point, like I stated last week, I still want to see a match between Chad Gable and Cesaro. I believe that match is going to be a huge payoff. Doesn't matter if on SmackDown or as a pay-per-view or trying to do a build-up of it. But I believe these two superstars can make a huge go. So we got to see that on SmackDown a week ago. We haven't seen anything this week because, Otis and Shinsuke Nakamura had a match, which I hope can lead to a build-up between Cesaro and Chad Gable in the long run. Angel Garza, of course, lately, he's been doing a lot of backstage promos as the Jose Lothario of Pretty Boys and all of Latinos and wrestlers among the board. But Angel Garza has a lot of talent in the ring. He's definitely has a lot to flourish. They need to put him back in the ring and less backstage. Backstage, we know he's a pretty boy. He can get any chick that he wants. But his value belongs in the ring. He needs to perform a whole lot more. He needs to have more matches. Carmella's getting the push right now. I'm for Carmella's big push. I like what I've been seeing as of late, despite the fact that her and Sasha Banks, they're looking like two sisters who've been separated at birth and now they're getting at each other's faces. Nonetheless, I like what I've been seeing from these two. I like that Carmella's getting a second fresh run. Hopefully it'll stick this time. I think this one could last a little bit longer. It all depends on how we're going to see this SmackDown Women's Championship at TLC this Sunday and see that there is somewhat of a payoff there. Now, unfortunately, Peyton Royce had some matches here and there. I like Peyton Royce, despite that the Iconics are no longer together. We can't say much for Billie Kay. Billie Kay, right now, she's in this angle where, like, oh, you got to contract me. My resume speaks for itself. But unfortunately, she's in these matches where she's, pretty much on the mind and nothing's going well for her. But I want to see Peyton Royce start somewhere. I know she's been having matches on and off, but I want her to have somewhat of a run and a rivalry with someone worthy of it. And Peyton Royce can be this heel so that she can unleash herself as a heel on the microphone, promo, and even her matches in the ring. I really would like to see that out of Peyton Royce. But there are other wrestlers right now that deserve a push and that have been underutilized. So I'm going to watch TLC, of course, accordingly, what's going to happen in the next Raw and SmackDown. And I'm going to see if I can compile a list of wrestlers I believe should get a chance, who should get a fair shake, and who should have a run in the long run to have something started. And hopefully, but the error is WWE kills everything within 3 weeks. That's the part that I dislike so much. So as much as they want to throw these people and give them opportunities, the issue that I have, the gripe that I have with WWE, with the creative stuff especially, is how these chances get killed within a short amount of time. And that's the thing that we don't want to see anymore. That's the thing I don't even want to see anymore. I know you have spoken so much about how WWE has so many failures and fixtures that they should have. But I think with these people already mentioned, I think, they're having something starting, for them to have some extended futures, on television.
Yes, I do, and I just want to point out that again, I am no stranger to what's going on, especially because before a second, I just want to point out that before the go home telecast for Raw took place, here we got here we had the chairman CEO Vince McMahon constantly being fed every run sheet after run sheet after run sheet, and he constantly said no, this is not the way I wanted to go. And then until finally there was a run sheet that he approves and said, okay, there we go, let's go with it. Unfortunately, much to the chagrin of Vince McMahon, the way how the show was formatted, unfortunately, was not the way the universe wanted it to see. I mean, and of course we're gonna talk briefly about guess what, many were lowlights, the highlights from last Monday's telecast prior to TLC. But one thing I just want to point out, because there's a saying there's a saying in Face Man, if it looks like crap and it smells like crap, it's crap. And unfortunately, people thought that last Monday's telecast for Raw, the go home edition for TLC, unfortunately looked and smelled like crap.
Yeah, and as much as I hate to agree with it, but it's the truth. Having to look back and think what the heck went wrong for the ratings to be that low. I'm surprised that for this episode, even though it was the lowest in history, I didn't even fall asleep on it, because normally when I be falling asleep on some matches, that's when I know that there's something wrong or that something didn't caught my attention. But to my surprise, I did not fall asleep during this whole episode, and yet it recorded a very low rating. Yeah. That's what I don't understand.
But my instincts told me that there were some talent that were obviously put in some horrendous positions, the many positions, and quite frankly, the build up for this for tomorrow's TLC was very awful. It just wasn't there. They did not build on the imagination to compel people to say, yeah, you're gonna see a great match. But I do have to admit, the one segment, or actually the one match that could have found compelling from the Raw side for tomorrow's TLC is the rivalry between the Viper, Randy Orton, and the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. It's like the way how that rivalry was building, it looked like that rivalry was going to a fever pitch. For me, I think that was the only positive of that telecast last Monday. But overall, the entire build-up that took place last Monday was just downright awful.
Even though for that angle, it led to a stipulation, a change to the match that that ended up being a decision 2 days or 3 days later. And we're going to get into that in just a bit. So just to finish out the story, like I mentioned, Cesaro, Chad Gable, Angel Garza, Carmella, and Peyton Royce being the most common names mentioned amongst the writers. Cesaro in particular has long been pointed out by fans as someone who should get a bigger push. And I agree, because there's always been something about Cesaro that he should have been a star such ages ago, to be honest. And he is very talented in the ring. He's to me, he's a gifted athlete. He's got something going. He's always had something in him that unfortunately WWE and the creative staff and management never gave this guy the opportunity for him to embellish how he should be right now. Like I mentioned, if for me as a fan, if you can give me Cesaro and Chad Gable for SmackDown or on a pay-per-view event, I'll be happy, or at least have something to build with these two guys, because these two guys, after what I witnessed last week, I saw something good. I saw something real good, and I know the people that are watching right now would agree with me that we got something broiling here in the works. We just bring it out in the open so that we can get the taste of it. You know what I mean? So if y'all can at least give me that as a fan, I'll be happy. I would be very happy to watch every single time, because it's going to end up on the network anyway. So if y'all can give me that, I'll be happy as a fan. But moving on to the story. The Royal Rumble is just around the corner, which is a promising opportunity for WWE to push one of these underutilized superstars. Although fallout from the news remains to be seen, it could lead to an episode of Raw next week that's full of reactionary decisions. All right. So with that said, let's talk about the segments that took place on Raw. We're going to begin with, of course, what we witnessed with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt / The Fiend. Now you notice how he's no longer known as Bray Wyatt or The Fiend Bray Wyatt. We see now that this should have been done a long time ago. Bray Wyatt has two sides to him, himself and the Fiend. So, still what we witnessed in that angle, I was kind of stumped because I really didn't understand what the heck we were watching until it climaxed the way the angle did. Did it climax good or did it climax bad? I don't know. That was still a huge question mark on me because I was barely getting the gist of what the heck I was watching this past Monday. So, having to say that, I think maybe a downfall was the fact that they were doing this angle of the kids games. How Randy Orton was challenging Bray Wyatt to a hide and go seek situation. Like if there were a couple of 8-year-olds in a huge arena where they can easily hide themselves until one of them gets hurt or an early heart attack or whatever. But it was cool to see Bray Wyatt's characters out of the funhouse just for one time and having them near the screens of the people, the WWE Universe out there at the WWE's Thunderdome. And of course, Bray talking his piece, Orton coming out on that Tron and challenging him to say, hey, how about a hide and go seek type of deal? So it went on. They did the backstage spoofs with the characters like Huskus talking with our Truth and Ramblin' Rabbit was seen and all of that. And of course that led to what is supposed to be the huge payoff with the rocking chair, a throwback of old to the first inception of Bray Wyatt, how Bray Wyatt was on that chair. And I literally felt the sensation you have taken the bait and Randy Orton was just in the shadows waiting to strike. Randy Orton thought he had the upper hand when he put him in the box. And it's like, okay, deja vu to what he did long time ago. Now he's going to light up the box on fire. But to our surprise, like, whoa, the Fiend was in there, popped out of nowhere. And once again, the mandible claw. So we still didn't know how the match with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt was going to go down until we found out later that their match at TLC is going to be a Firefly Inferno match. Now, what the hell is a Firefly Inferno match? We don't know. And I don't think WWE is going to state what it is either. But the real question here is, how is this match going to be shown? Is it going to be a cinematic match? Is this going to be an actual match? Is this going to be an Inferno match taken back to when Undertaker and Kane did their Inferno matches back then? Or is the Inferno match now going to surround, instead of having literal fire around the ring, is the fire going to be taking place on the screens? To be shown like if it was an Inferno match surrounding these two guys inside of the ring. We don't know. I mean, there's just so many thoughts running in my mind to how I can see this match take place as. I think chances are it may be a cinematic match. I could be wrong, but how in this match is going to take place and about, that's still a scratcher on my head right now.
Well, yes, I mean, it is one thing that all of us can't wait to see as to how this Firefly Inferno match will transpire. But like I mentioned weeks before, one thing for sure, not so much Bray Wyatt, but the Fiend wants to get one over on Randy. But even though he's the Fiend, it's deep down Bray Wyatt who wants to settle the score with the Viper. And tomorrow night at TLC at this Inferno Firefly match or Firefly Inferno match. I'm sorry, I misconstrued the order. But nonetheless, what took place years ago when Randy and Bray faced off. That's pretty much a mere mortal who Bray who Randy defeated. But tomorrow this is the Fiend, and I'm pretty sure. No matter how hard Randy might try to get into the Fiend's mind, eventually it's gonna be the Fiend. I'm saying, because I'm not predicting, but it's my internal instinct saying it's gonna be the Fiend. Probably gonna get one over on Randy Orton.
We're already talking predictions right now. I believe also that the Fiend is gonna have one over on Randy Orton. If Randy Orton defeated Bray Wyatt back then for the match, what was this at WrestleMania?
Yes.
I believe now the Fiend is going to have one over on Randy Orton. I really believe so. At least that's the gist that I'm getting out of this whole story. And as far as the huge payoff would be, I believe that the Fiend is going to take this one over. So that was one thing that we definitely enjoyed, because it really shocked the hell out of us that, that the Fiend would pop out of that flaming box, even though I guess that should have been expected, but I'm pretty sure others have expected that. The one thing that I somewhat liked and did not like is how the show really started opening up as the angle with AJ Styles, The Miz, and Morrison, how they told this Christmas story. Those are the Nightmare Before TLC. I did like it to a point. Miz telling the story, he introduced AJ Styles, but then when he introduced Drew McIntyre, it was John Morrison dressed up or trying to dress up or trying to look like as Drew McIntyre. I'm like, what the seriously, what the I don't know. I just had a different taste in my mouth. So as we're talking about it, I believe Sheamus came in and trying to find out for his friend. Then it ended up being Sheamus versus AJ Styles. Of course, this was kind of hard to swallow because, we're used to seeing Sheamus being the ass kicker and getting the best of all the other guys. Now Sheamus is on the other side of it, taking AJ's punishment to send a message towards the champion, leading towards TLC for their TLC match. So that one was kind of hard to digest, but I get it. AJ Styles will always be a phenomenal performer that he is. And AJ Styles never faced off Drew McIntyre. So I want to see something positive of these two guys performing against each other, to be honest. I don't expect anybody to fail from AJ nor Drew McIntyre, because I believe these two guys worked very hard to get to this point. So for them to have a first ever match, I want to feel and taste something good and not leaving a bad and awful taste, for me as a viewer, to having to see these guys perform for the first time ever.
Well, the build-up was ever since after Survivor Series for Drew McIntyre to defend the WWE Championship, and after that triple threat match, after that triple threat contendership match between Sheamus and Keith Lee, and was it Keith Lee? Keith Lee, right? Yeah, Keith Lee, and the phenomenal AJ Styles, and at the end, the phenomenal AJ Styles won the match, and therefore he is running for the WWE title tomorrow at TLC. But from what we're clearly seeing is definitely the target is on Drew's back, because not only is AJ gunning from tomorrow, that is, but clearly there's one other person waiting in the horizon for Drew, and that's the Miz, since he has the money in the briefcase and that contract. And frankly, and of course, I just want to point out that this collusion of sorts between AJ along with the Miz and Morrison, it's clearly fizzling out, because AJ is starting to come to the realization that the Miz will just do anything it takes for him to become champion. But this is what might likely happen tomorrow. Provided AJ defeats Drew McIntyre, provided Drew retains, we got to keep our eyes peeled on the Miz. Will he possibly cash on Drew tomorrow, or will Miz will just do the right thing and say, I'm just gonna wait until possibly WrestleMania. That way he could say, oh yeah, because it'll just say like, oh yeah, I still got this I still got this contract, I still got a shot at the title, and it'll say like, I can catch it whenever you want it. If Miz wants to play his cards right, I say wait till next year. I mean, it doesn't hurt to hold on to it at least another couple of months. But nonetheless, tomorrow, I agree with you. I want to see a great outcome. Well, I want to say, without the puns intended, I want to see a phenomenal championship match between AJ and Drew, and hopefully it lives up.
Now, as far as the Miz is concerned, I barely feel that it's relevant at this point to say that he's Mr. Money in the Bank and all of that, because he's been bragging about it a lot. But as far as him cashing out the contract, I agree with you. He should wait until WrestleMania, because if that gets cashed right now, or at the Royal Rumble, or even before WrestleMania, it's going to be a total flop. It's going to be a total waste. And as good as the Miz is as a performer and a wrestler to the universe's eyes, I like the Miz when he's Mike Mizanin for Miz and Mrs. That's the show that I like the Miz in. But as a wrestler, I'm hardly a fan of this guy. Hardly. But still, Miz and Mrs., I like that show. And I watch it, gracefully. But to see him cash the contract at this point would be a total waste. And then it's like, what, taking it away from Otis for what? Just for it to be wasted anyway? No. I say he should sit on it. I say he should sit on it until WrestleMania. And I think that would be, like I said so many times already on this episode, it would be a payoff, to be honest. It would really be, even if it's for one night, but at that point. Because if we do it now, I just feel it's going to flop, and all of that's going to lead to a very low expectation. And then for what? For nothing. So there would be no point. So let's jump to other things and get those out of the way, because I feel they're kind of either iffy or something to be pissed off about. Like, for example, Hurt Business was seen in the back acting like bullies, and they just dropped milk all over this one guy from the crew. Okay. So they're bullies in a suit. Who cares? Well, one thing I didn't like is how the Hurt Business won against Jeff Hardy and the New Day. Here I thought maybe Jeff Hardy and the New Day would take this. But since Hurt Business has been on a roll, and of course, like I mentioned so many times, how Cedric Alexander is just so animated, and how dynamic he is right now. And not to take that away from him, but we're seeing this side of Cedric Alexander that maybe he could be the big thing within the Hurt Business, or is the Hurt Business, or whatever the case may be. Still, I didn't like the outcome of the match. I felt that one went really sour. Also, the segment with Elias and Jackson Riker, with R-Truth interrupting. Yeah, kind of funny, but of course we were expecting the trail for R-Truth to be running away from, as his 24/7 on-demand championship, is still on the brink of, for other guys to win it. The battle with Ricochet and Retribution still happening. Ricochet faced off Mace. It was a decent match. I'm not going to take that away from Ricochet. I believe Ricochet won. No, Mace won the match.
Yes.
This time Mace won the match, because there's been a lot of back and forth between Ricochet. Ricochet winning some matches. Guys from Retribution be winning matches. But yeah, Mace won this week. Of course, with what took place in the women's division, before I address the thing that I'm kind of pissed off about, Dana Brooke defeated Shayna Baszler in some sort of a quick match. But Dana Brooke has been somewhat on a roll, so to speak, and I guess, that's going okay. Here's the part that I didn't like that took place earlier. the match between Lana and Nia Jax. I wanted Lana to win the match, and to my surprise, that was given to me. Thank you. You know, here we thought we would see, something like a huge payoff for Lana to get after so much humiliation, after so many beatings, after being thrown over the table by a Samoan drop from Nia Jax over 9 times. We get to see Lana win, and all of a sudden, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, they just want to waste on Lana and ending her, putting her on injury. We don't know if she's actually on injury, but in reality, writing her off for the story. So it was supposed to be Asuka and Lana versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the women's tag team belts. But now with Lana out of the picture, the question still remains, who is going to be Asuka's partner? Now, I have it on really good detail and source, but what the sources have been saying and how I feel just by analyzing on those anecdotes, I have a really good feeling that Charlotte Flair is going to come back and she is going to be Asuka's partner. Because from what we last saw on TV, Charlotte Flair was put out of the picture because of Nia Jax. Nia Jax has been on this rampant tirade and all of that in one, show that she's this dominant woman and da-da-da-da. Which she is, not take it away from her, but, some of this can be just way too much. But still, I guess, Charlotte wanted to be out for a good while or whatever. And the way to do that was to put Charlotte supposedly injured but at the hands of Nia Jax. So now to be brought back, it would make total sense that it would be Charlotte Flair to be Asuka's partner to go against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the women's tag team titles.
Yes, but this is the part that's baffling. It's like we knew ever since that heinous attack from the Irresistible Force to the Queen, since she's called herself the Queen City. I mean, the second generation, the Nature Boy's daughter. I mean, but nonetheless, this is the part that I find baffling. We knew deep down inside Charlotte wants payback against Nia Jax, but I never thought it would come this way. Quite frankly, writing out Lana this way, as much as I hate to say it as a fan, was the wrong thing to do. I mean, yes, I mean, having having Lana defeat Nia last Monday was a treat. After all the torture she endured was one thing. However, never in my wildest dreams they have Lana endure the worst torture that night. And quite frankly, I was looking forward to see Lana tag up with Asuka tomorrow night at TLC. Now,
Yes.
Now, quite frankly, I'm pointing the finger at the company. Now, I understand that they're very anxious to have Charlotte back. It's just that, quite frankly, I mean, I don't know what's the whole point in having Charlotte tag up with Asuka tomorrow. I mean, deep down inside, I say, okay, the build-up is there for Charlotte to get back at Nia. Granted, it could. I mean, that could happen possibly by the beginning of next year. I mean, you can have possibly Nia versus Charlotte at WrestleMania. I mean, that way you can have a good build-up. But frankly, I should have just said, okay, they should have not taken out Lana. Possibly could have just, okay, have Lana compete with Asuka tomorrow and possibly not win the tag titles. But unfortunately, they did what they did, and unfortunately, from what transpired, is also probably one of the main reasons why the ratings suffered Monday. Because quite frankly, there were some people that were actually rooting for Lana. Quite frankly, I was rooting for Lana.
Yeah, so was I.
Especially, but quite frankly, to just to say that they pulled up carpet from underneath their feet like that, quite frankly, that was not the right thing to do.
And of course, this is WWE management and even maybe the creative staff. This is how they've been playing Russian roulette with these women superstars, as far as trying to put teams together to have contenders or even worthy contenders or even future champions for these WWE Women's Tag Team belts. But they keep forgetting that there's 2 other brands out there that have just the same right as much as anybody else. You got women from SmackDown, like Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott of the Riot Squad, that should have never been broken up in the first place, but here they are back together, which is a very good thing. They want to be the next women's tag team champions, deservingly, I might add. There's women in NXT who want the same thing. We haven't seen any, women paired up. Maybe right now with the way with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, maybe they could be a team and go after those belts. Even Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. And speaking of Dakota Kai, I forgot. Right now, there's an issue with her not seen on TV because because of her visa status. So they're trying to help her out with that, and hopefully we'll get to see Dakota Kai come back to NXT TV real soon. And I'm sorry I never got to mention about that, but that just went off out of my head. But good thing that's brought up right now as we're on the subject. But management and the creative team, like I said, they've been playing Russian roulette to see who they can pair up with who to make a team and go after these tag belts. There's been, women that unfortunately haven't been worked out for some reason or another. They just don't mesh, as you would like to say. Mm-hmm. And it's true. It hasn't happened that way. But there has to be somewhere down along the line where they can pair up really good or already know how the other one works. And that's how you make a really good tag team. Like Iconics, I didn't like the way the Iconics one had the belts and how they didn't do anything with it, but it wasn't their fault. That was creative's fault. That was management's fault. I love the way how Bayley and Sasha, how they ran with those belts the first time around, but unfortunately they didn't get to further blossom with it, and that's what had Sasha irate for a very good while the previous year. But when they had the shot to come back and make it better, they made it their own. Despite how I hated character-wise, but in reality, I was happy for them to have the run that they did. But back to this whole tag team women's scenario, that's how I think this could come out for tomorrow night. Charlotte Flair could be, in my opinion, the partner for Asuka as far as making her in-ring return. So hopefully that does take place. Another thing that I was very unhappy with, more than Lana being out of the picture for TLC, and of course, Nia Jax having to break her down after losing towards Lana. The handicap match between Keith Lee and Miz and Morrison. I was not happy with it. I hated it. I hated the fact that Keith Lee lost to these guys. I mean, come on. We all know that Keith Lee is a major powerhouse, a superstar on the rise on Raw. And now you just want to diminish him with this loss at the hands of these 2 bozos? Come on, man. No, man. I mean, it just sucks. It just really sucks, And I don't know what, Vince McMahon was thinking of putting Keith Lee and another of these big guys to the Performance Center. And then to come the following week and Keith Lee loses to Miz and Morrison. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
And it's a good thing you mentioned that, because coincidentally around this time, we're not going to 1998 when Goldberg was at the cusp of all this glamour, of all this popularity, especially in his prime with the title and the streak. All of a sudden, because of internal issues and everything, and all of a sudden because the reason how it all unfolded in 1998 was because Kevin Nash became the booker. Things just unfolded, and pretty much, I mean, there were a lot of opinions or and talks of sorts, but pretty much they were saying Kevin Nash was constantly saying that Goldberg has a certain aura, but credibility he lacked. That was one of the reasons why they were saying, oh yeah, he wanted to end the streak and take the belt. but and I'm gonna borrow quote coincidentally from Paul Heyman, not to Robert Romans, but pretty much I'm gonna say just when they were afraid of blowing it, they're starting to blow it. I'm not saying they blow it completely, but they're starting to blow it, because I agree with you, because I mean they're building up this Keith Lee is like I said, he's an amazing specimen of a wrestler, and to have, you know, and I agree with you, to have these L7 weenies, cool kids just like that. But again, because I'm not blaming kids, we're blaming the company, because that's what it's all is. I mean, you're pretty much you're coming as strategist trying to appeal to the fans in any way, shape, or form. But part of the problem is that you don't have a clue on how your fans react, because you just say, oh yeah, you make a move, I don't like it. No, if nobody if the WCW fans did not like Goldberg's streak to end just because the company was in turmoil, what makes the WWE Universe still didn't like seeing Keith Lee take his first loss, especially to some, I'm guess, some popsicle sticks. Someone call them popsicle sticks, like The Miz and John Morrison. That was just a very bad thing to do.
It was a bad booking decision. Bottom line, it was a very bad booking decision. How you just brought up the example of Goldberg and the winning streak and all of that, and having to come to a close at the hands of Kevin Nash. It was just bad booking decision. And Goldberg still believes to this day that, Kevin Nash was already on the booking committee for that to happen, for Nash to kill Goldberg's, or cooling his jets, so to speak. But that's how Goldberg felt. I don't know if he still feels it to this day, but he already felt like Nash was already on the booking committee a little early just to do that. And I felt with Keith Lee, Miz and Morrison, that was a horrible booking decision for Keith Lee to lose at the hands of Miz and Morrison. I was not happy with it. Because we all know Keith Lee, like you said, is a hell of a specimen. He's one hell of a wrestler. He does things that I never imagined he would do, and that's what makes him ordinary. That's what makes him unique. If only I would have seen Keith Lee in the Indies, my God, I would have been in love with this guy and love how this guy performs. And he performs like a dynamo, man. Keith Lee is just something else. And like I said, for him to lose to Miz and Morrison, it was just piss poor, man. Like literally, I was not happy with that. I hope the creative comes up with something to remedy that situation, because there has to be a vengeance or upcoming, so to speak, out of that. That was just a horrible match, because in my view, Keith Lee could have took those two on and won the match. But whoever booked it for Keith Lee to lose at the hands of them two, no, I'm not happy with it. I am not happy with it. Not at all, by any stretch of the imagination. And just to end up this review of Raw, Riddle and MVP, they also had a match, but that one was really, really short. But Riddle won. Now we jump to SmackDown, of course. The angle with Roman Reigns is still going on strong. And the way how SmackDown ended, with the barrage of tables, ladders, and chairs and all of that onto Kevin Owens, after Owens having to be wasted on by Jey Uso and Roman Reigns almost throughout the entire night. And Owens is still walking and limping and dragging his carcass into the ring just for more brutalization from the hands of the head of the table. And Paul Heyman still with such dynamic verbiage that Heyman is a genius. Like I said, he put Kevin Owens over just to make this story so gripping and enticing, and to have something to look forward to for their match at TLC between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. I am looking forward to seeing one hell of a match, because after everything that Kevin Owens have endured, man, it's just something off the chart. We cannot wait to see how this match is going to end coming up on Sunday.
Yes, and I'm gonna take something from last Friday's telecast. I mean, the way how, um, and the way how Kevin Owens came out on the show and said that he was talking to Roman Reigns and said like what you did to me last the week, like you thought I was gonna let that unanswered, and like he did not want to wait till TLC. He wanted Roman so bad, but pretty much the tribal chief pretty much put every obstacle in his way, and yes, pretty much Jey Uso was the one doing his brain, making sure that Kevin is not 100% to TLC, and but no matter what Roman did, Kevin still managed to get up. He still managed to be in the fight, and he pretty much told Roman, get ready, because I can't wait to beat you. I can't wait to take the Universal Championship from you. And the most creepy thing to me was when I saw talking smack on the WWE Network, he came out and told Paul Heyman straight up, and he pretty much said, Paul, don't speak, just listen. I know you're a messenger. Give this message to Roman. I'm coming for him. I'm gonna beat the living daylights out of him, and I'm taking his Universal Championship.
Yes, and we can't wait to see how all of that is going to come about later on Sunday, because it's already going to be 3 a.m. here Central Time, so it'll just be a matter of hours when TLC comes about. We'll just address these quick matches that we've seen. Decent match between Street Profits, Ziggler, and Rude. We knew that Street Profits were going to keep it. Ziggler and Rude did everything that they can to try to, be at the level that they're at of performance, and they did pretty good. But Street Profits always has the upper hand, and they're still the tag team champions. Like I mentioned, Riot Squad had a match with Billie Kay. She had Tamina as her partner. Unfortunately, that was another waste, and Billie Kay's back to square one, so there's no way that she's going to get her services amongst the Riot Squad, because she still hasn't proven much despite what her resume says. The segment between Sasha Banks and Carmella, the champagne toast to the boss, obviously Carmella did a pretty good promo piece, towards Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks, of course, came out and rebutted the way she only knew how. But once again, that champagne bottle to Sasha Banks' lower back. Now we're going to see how Carmella and Sasha is going to deliver this angle. And it's a good thing, like I said, Carmella's getting that second fresh run. Hopefully it's a payoff for her. I don't expect her to win the SmackDown Women's Championship right away, but if it does, that would be a surprise, to say the least. But, it all depends on what we're going to see later on tonight. Also, Otis and Shinsuke Nakamura, they had a very good, decent match. Otis got the win. It's expected, but like I said, I really want to see Cesaro and Chad Gable give one heck of a wrestling performance that I'm waiting for a huge time. The first annual Sammy Awards, we knew that one was going to be somewhat, kind of less and more than, something interesting in it. But until Big E was involved once again, we know that whole fiasco was just a sham. And, of course, all the way to Talking Smack, Sami Zayn was still making a huge deal out of, it should have been, all three awards. I only got 2 because Big E took the last one, and Bayley versus Bianca Belair. I understood why Bayley got the win, because Bayley still has a lot to offer, but still, I don't like the way how they've been promoting Bianca Belair and all this to be the EST of WWE and SmackDown, and then of course losing to Bayley. That's kind of like a type of thing. But still, like I said, Bayley still has a lot to offer right after losing the SmackDown Women's Championship. So I expect just a little bit more in this deal with the rivalry between Bayley and Bianca Belair in that long run. Hopefully we get to see more of that. But pretty much the entire night, SmackDown was a decent episode. But like I said, the entire night just focused a lot around Roman Reigns Kevin Owens, Paul Heyman, and Jey Uso. But especially, like I said, how Paul Heyman did a very tremendous job of putting Kevin Owens over, and just we're all gripping into this match because that's a match to look forward to later on tonight. TLC is going to be, I think it'll be a decent pay-per-view, but if there's one match that I think will definitely, all eyes are going to be on, it'll be definitely be the one with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship, no doubt about it. So TLC will be later on tonight on the WWE Network. That'll be something that we'll be looking forward to. And I feel that, like I said, it'll be a decent pay-per-view. There's matches to look forward to. I think we already ran down like maybe, 4 or 5 matches on the card.
Yes.
And nonetheless, we can't wait to see what the outcomes are going to be. Hopefully the outcomes that we predicted are going to be the ones that take place, but chances are a portion will be coming out the way we expected to. The other, and the other ones probably won't come out the way we expected to, but that's the way things are, and that's how enjoyable this pay-per-view is going to be. Well, nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. I know this has been a very late run. I was already debating on whether or not to do it tonight because I was, tired out, and I apologize because I've been eating cereal in the midst of this podcast show. But nonetheless, I've been seeing that we've been getting numbers on the rise for subscribers. I want to thank you all so much for those subscriptions. God bless you all. We really appreciate it here at the Ace Man Armageddon brand. And as far as tonight is concerned, thank you very much for joining us. For the one and only Jade, I am Ace Man X. We will see you next week. Enjoy TLC tonight on the WWE Network, as we will do the same. And hopefully we will get to see Raw doing improvisation from the horrible ratings that we witnessed this past Monday. And we'll see what happens with the Wednesday Night Wars as well this upcoming week with the shows of New Year's Smash. And, of course, before that, one of their special events as well with AEW to see if they will defeat NXT in the ratings coming up. Until then, thank you for watching. Stay safe. Mask up. Peace and love worldwide. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night, everyone.
I most importantly like to wish you a very safe and happy holiday season.